Welcome back to my channel. And if you are visiting my channel for the first time, you are also highly welcome. In this space, we simplify anatomy, and here we also learn anatomy with so much fun. In this lecture, we'll be looking at the different muscles that are related to the radius. If you use this image by the side, this is where we have the radius here. And if you look at it, you see that the different sub-regions are painted. By the end of this class, we should be able to state the different muscles that are related to these specific regions. And this will help us in our practical examination. Driving into highlighting the different muscular attachments of the radius, it is important for us to establish the different sub-regions of the radius. And it is upon this establishment that would be highlighting the different muscles that are related to it. So using this image by the side, this is where we have the radius arrowed in red. We know that the radius is located laterally within the forearm region, while the ulna is seen to be positioned medially. We also try to classify this bone. We see that it is a long type of bone, and because it is a long type of bone, it is seen to have two ends. It is seen to have a proximal end, and this is what is highlighted here in green, which of course it is the upper end. Then it is also seen to have a distal end, which is also what is highlighted here at this point. Of course, this is located at the inferior region. In between these two ends, we then have the shaft or the body. And this is what is also highlighted at this point. So it is upon this establishment that would be highlighting the different muscles that are related to the radius. First, let's drive through the proximal end. The proximal end, we already highlighted that it is the upper end. And if you see this image by the side, this is the upper region of the radius. The muscles that are seen to be related to the upper or the proximal region of the radius are muscles that have their insertion site around the space. So we have two of these muscles that are seen to be inserted around the proximal end of the radius. And if you look at this image by the side, this is where we have the head of the radius. And of course, around the medial side, we have the articular surface. It is onto this articular surface that the radius is able to create the proximal radioulnar joint, which is of course the joint that the radius will be creating with the ulna. If you go more inferiorly from the head, we then have the constricted neck, and this is what is also arrowed there at this point. If you go further inferiorly, we then have the radial tuberosity. So it is important that we highlight the different specific regions of the proximal end of the radius, so that by the time we'll be highlighting the different muscles, it will be easy for us to understand. We already established these different sub-regions of the proximal end of the radius in our previous lecture on the radius. If you've not checked up that lecture, please kindly go and do so to keep yourself updated. Now, let's try and describe the muscles that receive their point of insertion at this space. The first muscle here is the biceps brachii muscle. If you go back to our lecture on the muscles of the arm region, if you've not also checked up that lecture, please kindly also go and do so. We say that the biceps brachii is a two-headed muscle, and this is why it is so referred to as the biceps brachii. The biceps brachii has two heads. It has the long head and also the short head. The long head originates from the supraglenoid tubercle of the scapula, while the short head originates from the coracoid process also of the scapula. So the long and the short heads of the biceps brachii seem to originate from different sub-regions of the scapula. The short and the long head of the biceps brachii are then seen to descend inferiorly, where they finally form a common tendon. The common tendon of this muscle is then seen to be inserted specifically at the posterior region of the radial tuberosity. Don't forget that this region that is arrowed here in red is the radial tuberosity. The radial tuberosity is positioned anteromedially. So if this image is directed anteromedially, we then see the common tendon of the biceps brachii finally inserted on the radial tuberosity, but it is specifically seen to insert on the posterior region of the radial tuberosity. And it is important that we highlight this in case we are asked during examination. While in the anterior region of the radial tuberosity, this space is created for a bursa. So you have a bursa located in the anterior part of the radial tuberosity, and we know that bursa generally have fluid-filled sac that helps to reduce friction Of course, it will help to reduce friction between the bone and also the overlying structure. So it is important that we know the specific regions of the radial tuberosity that the common tendon of the biceps brachii will finally be inserted upon. Then going to the second muscle, which is the supinator. The supinator is the second muscle that is seen around the proximal end of the radius. And specifically, it is seen to be wrapping around the proximal 1/3 of the radius. If you go back to the point of origin also of the supinator, you see that it has multiple sites of origin. So one of the origination sites of the supinator is the lateral epicondyle. It is also seen to originate also from the radial collateral ligament and also the annular ligament. Then finally, it is seen to take its site of origin from the supinator fossa and also the supinator crest of the ulna. If you go back to our lecture on the ulna, remember we described the supinator fossa and also the supinator crest. So you see that the supinator muscle, of course, is seen to have a multiple sites of origin. So the fibers are collected all together and are seen to be wrapped around the proximal 1/3 of the radius. And because it is seen to wrap around the proximal 1/3 of the radius, it is seen to be related to the anterior, posterior, and also the lateral surfaces of this specific region. And of course, it is at this point that the fibers of the supinator are finally inserted upon. So you see that the two muscles that we have described around the proximal end of the radius are muscles that take their insertion point around this region. Now let's move to the second sub-region, of course, which is the shaft. So before we dive into describing the different muscles that are related to the shaft, it is important that we do a quick revision on a previous slide. If you look at this region that is highlighted in blue, this is the radial tuberosity. And this radial tuberosity, we state that the muscle that is related to this region is the biceps brachii muscle. Don't forget that the biceps, of course, will take its point of insertion at this point. Then if you go to this region that is already in black, which of course is the proximal 1/3 of the radius, and this region specifically is related to the supinator muscle. Don't forget that the supinator muscle also is taking its point of insertion around this region. So now let's drive to the shaft region. Specifically in the shaft, we have a muscle that takes its point of insertion around the shaft region, where we have 4 muscles taking their point of origins around the shaft region. So we'll be describing in totality 5 muscles around the shaft. So let's go first to the insertion. The muscle that is inserted around the shaft region is the pronator teres. The pronator teres is seen to be inserted around the lateral surface here of the radius. And this is what is highlighted in yellow. And specifically, it is seen to be inserted on the lateral surface around the mid shaft region. And this is what is projected here in this image. We know that the pronator teres is seen to originate from the medial epicondyle and also the coronoid process of the ulna. And you see the fibers directed downwards where they are finally inserted here on the lateral surface around the mid-shaft region of the radius. So this is why it takes its point of insertion around this region. So now let's drive through the other muscles that, of course, take their point of origins from the shaft region. And the first muscle here is the flexor digitorum superficialis. The flexor digitorum superficialis is seen on the upper region of the anterior border of the radius. We already described in detail the different borders of the radius in our previous lecture on the radius. If you've not checked that lecture up, please kindly go and do so. So this is the anterior border here, and of course the upper region of the anterior border is where the flexor digitorum superficialis takes its point of origin from. We know that the flexor digitorum superficialis is seen to have 2 heads. It is seen to have the humeroulnar head and also the radial head. The humeroulnar head superiorly is seen to emerge or originate from the medial epicondyle and also the coronoid process of the ulna. And after their emergence, they are seen to also unite with the radial head that, of course, will originate specifically from the upper region of the anterior border of the radius. And this is what is highlighted at this point. So you see that the radial head of the flexor digitorum superficialis is seen to take its point of origin from the anterior border of the radius. And of course, after this emergence, it unites with the humeroulnar head, where they are finally seen to be directed inferiorly and be inserted on the digits. So if we are asked, to state the muscle that is related to the upper region of the anterior border of the radius in our practical examination, now we should be able to state that it is the flexor digitorum superficialis. Then the next muscle that I'll be describing, of course, having its point of origin from the shaft of the radius, is the flexor pollicis longus. The flexor pollicis longus is seen to originate from the middle third of the anterior surface of the radius. Don't forget, this is the anterior surface, and at this point that is harrowed here in green is where we have the middle third of the anterior surface, and it is at this specific region that we have the emergence of the flexor pollicis longus, and this is what is projected here in this image. So the fibers of the flexor pollicis longus will emerge around the anterior surface of the shaft of the radius, specifically around the middle third, and it is seen to be directed inferiorly, where it will be inserted on the distal phalanx of the thumb, and this is what is projected here around this lower region. So these are the muscles that are seen in the anterior region of the shaft of the radius, and they are specifically seen to take their origination site from this point. Then if you go more posteriorly, you also have two muscles, of course, taking their point of origins at the posterior region also of the radius. And the first muscle here is the extensor pollicis brevis. The extensor pollicis brevis is seen to emerge from the distal one-third of the posterior surface of the radius. Don't forget that this is the posterior view, and at this point here is where we have the distal one-third of the posterior surface of the radius. And this is what creates the origin site for the extensor pollicis brevis. And you see the fibers also extending from the interosseous membrane around this level, where they are finally seen to descend downward to insert on the thumb. So you see that around the posterior surface also of the radius, we also have muscles also taking their point of origin from this point. Then the next muscle that is also seen specifically around the posterior surface of the radius is the abductor pollicis longus. The abductor pollicis longus is seen at the most superior region of the posterior surface. So it is seen at the proximal half of the posterior surface. And this is what is projected here in this image. You see the fibers of these muscles also are finally driven downwards, where they will be inserted on the first metacarpal. So you see that around the anterior surface, we have the flexor digitorum superficialis and also the flexor pollicis longus, where around the posterior region, we have the extensor pollicis brevis and also the abductor pollicis longus. So it is important that we are able to describe the specific regions where these muscles are attached upon, either taking their points of origins from these spaces or their points of insertions. Now let's go to the distal attachment. And around the distal region, we have muscles taking their point of insertions around this region. And we have two muscles in this space. The first muscle is the pronator quadratus. The pronator quadratus is seen around the distal region of the anterior surface of the radius. If you look at this region, this is where we have the anterior surface here of the distal region of the radius. And at this point is where we have the insertion site of the pronator quadratus, four-sided muscle that is seen to originate from the anterior surface of the ulna. We already described this muscle in our previous lecture on the muscular relations of the ulna. We said that around the distal anterior surface of the ulna, it is seen to originate from this point, of course directed laterally, where the fibers will finally be inserted on the anterior surface of the distal region also of the radius. The second muscle that we have around the distal end of the radius is the brachioradialis. The brachioradialis is specifically seen to be inserted around the lateral surface of the distal region of the radius, and it is seen above the styloid process. If you look at this region, this is where the brachioradialis is finally inserted upon. Of course, it is seen to take its point of origin from the lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus. And you see that the fibers will be directed inferiorly, where they will be inserted on the lateral surface. Specifically, it is seen above the styloid process. Don't forget, this is where we have the styloid process, which is an extension that is seen around the posterior lateral surface of the inferior region of the radius. Above this projection that is referred to as the styloid process is where we then have the insertion point for the brachioradialis. So now let's try and use this exercise to evaluate our understanding of this lecture. This is the image of the radius, and of course, the different specific regions here are painted. For this region that is harrowed at this point, this is the radial tuberosity. So if we are asked to state the muscle that is related to this region, of course, we should know that it is the biceps brachii. The biceps brachii muscle, of course, will be taking its insertion site around this point. So the muscle that is related to this specific region, H, is the biceps brachii muscle. So if you go more inferiorly, the muscle that is related to this region is the supinator. We know that the supinator, of course, also takes its point of insertion on the proximal region of the radius. If we are asked to state the muscle that is related to the region that is marked high, it is the supinator muscle. Then if you go more inferiorly, the region that is marked J, the muscle that is related to the anterior border, specifically the upper region of the anterior border of the radius, the answer to this is the flexor digitorum superficialis. We know that the flexor digitorum superficialis also would take its point of origin from this point before it descends downwards to be inserted on the digits. So the muscle that is related to this region marked J is the flexor digitorum superficialis. Then if you go more inferiorly, the region that is marked K, this region, the muscle that is related to this region, of course, will also be taking its point of origin from this space, and this is the flexor pollicis longus. So it is the flexor pollicis longus that will be related to the region that is marked K. Then if you go more inferiorly, the region that is marked L, the muscle that will be related to this region is the pronator teres. Don't forget, we say that the pronator teres is inserted around the lateral surface, specifically around the midshaft region. We also described this in our previous slide. So this region that is marked L, the muscle that is related to this specific space is the pronator teres. Then if you go more inferiorly, the region that is marked N, we should know that it is the pronator quadratus. Don't forget that the pronator quadratus is related to the anterior surface of the distal region of the radius, and because it is a four-sided muscle, it is seen to be originating also from the anterior surface of the distal region of the honor, and of course is directed laterally to be inserted on this specific region. Then if you go to the lateral edge here that is marked N, at this point, the muscle that is related to this specific region is the brachioradialis. Don't forget, we described that the brachioradialis, of course, will take its point of insertion on this specific region. So it is important that we're able to highlight the different muscles that are related to different specific regions. And I hope that you find this video useful in your practical examination. So thanks for watching, and let's continue to stay glued to my channel.